Welcome to Faith in Vegas, presented by KEEN TV 17, a program to inspire and inform our viewers about the unique community in which we live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Faith in Vegas. I'm your host, David Lee, and today we have a very, very special guest. As you can see, we're in a different place, and it's beautiful because this place belongs to our guest, Annie Meadows. Annie, thanks for being on the show.
David, thank you so much.
Now, Annie, you know what? You're an amazing musician. And before we get into your music career, there's a lot of things that I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
Starting with your birth. I understand you had a very interesting birth. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of it really until I grew up. My family began to reveal more and more to me, and my mother had me late in life. My brothers and sisters were teenagers, and they told me that my mother went into labor on the day that we had a tornado hit our hometown.
Wow.
And she'd fallen down the basement steps trying to get to shelter, went into labor, and there was a lot of issues. They came out to my father. My father always loves this part of the story. Like I said, it was not until I was grown that I really knew all this. Mm-hmm. He said the doctors came out with an x-ray that they had taken of the baby, and my face was looking out to him. And he said, I fell in love with you the minute I saw you. They had to sign a paper whether to save the mother or save the child, because they said there was no visible heartbeat or breath.
Wow.
And I was also breech birth. So they actually moved my mother from the delivery to surgery room because they weren't sure what they were going to have to do, induced labor, pulled me out by my feet, and I was pronounced dead at birth. They covered me up with a sheet. And my mother had prayed through her entire pregnancy for a little girl who would play the piano and sing. I kid you not.
Wow.
And my brothers and sisters were not musical. So, I mean, they have good voices and all that, but they weren't musical people. And so my mother said that it wasn't very long before I started crying. They never really understood why. And the rest is history. Here I am. I have some different situations, with my heart and so forth from that. But it's a miracle.
Man, so you were under the sheet, and then you started crying.
Yeah, so we don't know. Nobody really knows, but I mean, I was an Easter baby. I was born around Easter time, so I like to say, well, God's in the business of raising people from the dead around Easter.
And moving forward, you not only was that another one hurdle, but you had other hurdles as well, like cancer.
And that was my entire life, David, has been such one miracle after another. I figured out now that God's He has me here for a purpose, because I had what they said was cancer. And then when they sent it to the Mayo Clinic for the third time, it came back benign, and the doctors were dumbfounded by that. But what happened with that situation is I was raised Catholic. My mother and father always taught me about the Lord, and they were very religious, but they became a born-again Christian through that situation, because my mother said that if the Lord would heal me, her and my father would give their hearts to the Lord in a way that a friend had been witnessing to them, to become a born-again Christian. And so, the Lord turned that diagnosis around, and my mother and father became saved because of that.
My goodness. And so you had the cancer, and what about the heart defects? You mentioned that about...
That kind of came along with, my birth, some different problems like that. I've always had problems, different parts of me. I have different parts in my body. I have 3 kidneys. I have an extra adrenal. As they keep finding extra parts, I have an extra part valve. And so my husband calls me the bionic woman, David. But I've had 3 heart attacks.
Oh, wow.
And the third one was pretty bad. I was on tour in Michigan, but that's a wonderful story. I had to actually go on another TV program and share, because I led the ambulance driver, the EMT, to the Lord.
Wow.
On the way to the hospital.
So,
in the back of an ambulance. So I just never stop.
oh my goodness, and here you are. You're still here.
Yes, I don't think much about my problems. A lot of people say, we can't do that. You got a heart problem. You got to be real careful. Oh, how's your heart today? And I don't really ever think much about it because I know that God has me here for a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. He knows the time that I will depart this earth. And so what I do is I dedicate myself to enjoying life. All of my friends know I enjoy life. My motto every day is life is short. That's what they'll always hear from me. Let's do this. Life is short, you know?
Yeah.
And just serving God with every ounce of my being, but also spending a great deal of time with Him, David, which I really do every day. The last couple of days I've been so busy with a lot of obligations, but I'm one who apologizes to Him if I don't get to spend that quality time with Him. I'm talking 2 or 3 hours or more. Mm-hmm. I apologize to Him for it, and then I make it up in the days to come.
You know what? You are a miracle baby.
Amen.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? That's enough hardship for one segment. When we come back, we're going to talk about how she became a Christian, but before that, she was a witch. I know you're going to want to hear more. We'll see you after this.
Silently stars are rising and the endless night. I walk in thought lost in the moon's unearthly light, wondering why the one who governs all I'd see would care so deeply for a tiny being like me. I am so small, you are so great, and I know you've got bigger things to attend to, yet you never turn away. I am so small, but I need you too. And I know that the little things are important to you.
And we're back. You know, Annie, when we were talking earlier, we were talking about your testimony, awesome testimony. You had a lot of health concerns,
Yes.
a lot of things that you went through. But you were also a witch?
Yeah, I was raised in a Christian family because, when I give my testimony in concerts, a lot of people assume, I'm raised in a situation where my father was a warlock or an atheist family, but I was raised in a Christian family and taught about God strongly all my life. My parents, of course, started out being Catholic and then becoming born-again Christians. But it was the curiosity, and that's what I always, will ask the children and the parents to guard against, because once we open the door of our soul, the enemy is going to come in. Basically, when I was around the age of 5 or 6, it was right before school, that I was introduced to an Ouija board. And that was kind of, not that the Ouija board is going to cause everybody to become a witch, but it is a dangerous game. I've talked a little bit about it on my radio program, as a matter of fact. But I was introduced to this game, and it kind of caused a curiosity in me. As I got into school, I've always been an avid reader. I love to read. I'm an author today and love books. So I got into books as quick as I could, but I would go to the library and I'd get books on spell casting, witchcraft, the Salem witch trials, tarot cards, learning how to read tarot cards. And so it all that had to do with the dark side. And it began to change my personality. And I started running with the wrong kids. One thing led to another as the darkness started entering my soul, running with the wrong kids, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, and just really getting myself in a lot of trouble. There was a light side to me as well, because I hid a lot of what I did. for my parents. So it was kind of like a tug of war most of my life until as I grew and then really embraced witchcraft as a full-blown practicing witch, calling myself a witch, and being more public about it.
I see. Oh my goodness. So like when people think of the word witch, they probably think there's a good side and a bad side.
They think like a white witch, a dark witch, and that kind of thing. And I recently was able to, around the Halloween time, I always get very popular with this testimony, and I go to different places to share it. And one thing I shared was I asked the audience, as I will ask the audience today, what do you think of when you think of a witch? What picture comes to your mind? And one of my office managers presented me at one time an article in a newspaper from New York. And there was a beautiful picture of a lawyer, very successful, business suit, blonde, smile, and the thing was, she was also a practicing witch. So witches can be everywhere at all times.
Yeah.
And also as a Christian, though, you will begin to notice your spirit feeling that. So, God changes you not only, from maybe the outside, because I was very much into it where I dressed the part and my ambulance around my neck and all the makeup and, the jewelry and all the paraphernalia. But God will change that on the inside when you give your heart to Him. And that's what happened to me, is I met Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that changed my life. But the witchcraft was a very dark time for me, David, a really dark time in life, and really causing a lot of problems for me.
Oh my goodness. Like, okay, I'm going to be honest with you.
Sure.
There was a time where I did experiment with a Ouija board.
Yes.
And weird things did happen. And also, I like you, I dove into tarot cards.
Yes.
I read them, and even more so, weird things happened.
Yeah.
Now, what was the transition? What immediately when the weird things happened for me? Because I heard of a friend who tried to throw away their tarot cards, and every time they did, the tarot cards ended up in their room.
Yeah, those things are really real. A lot of people don't believe that, because I would transport my body. I could go from one place to another. I could make things move around the room and things like that. But now, for example, my husband, Peter, he told me the same thing. He said there was a time in his life when he dabbled with the Ouija board, and it gave him those bad feelings, but he was smart enough to, I can't do this anymore. Even though he has his own testimony of the rebellion before he became a Christian, can't do this anymore. But unfortunately, David, I embraced every bit of it. And I'm so thankful, though, that God rescued me, because I don't think I would be here now. I don't think I would have survived.
How did you find God? Who introduced you?
Leaving home and being on the street in Hollywood, California for a short amount of time, I'm glad to say, making my way back here to Las Vegas. And the bass player in the rock band that I went on tour with, being a Christian, backslidden at the time, is the one who really basically led me to the Lord. It's another long story. You let me know how much time we have. But yeah, that's the really interesting part of the story is when that happened.
Yeah.
Because he figured out what I was, and I think that's kind of one thing that scared him back to going back to the Lord again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I think he recognized the darkness so strongly in me that he wanted no part of it, and we'd become boyfriend and girlfriend on tour. And yeah. Wow.
Very, very eye-opening. You know what, guys? When we come back, we're going to talk about her ministry and her upcoming Christian event. We'll see you after these messages.
Path alone, be with me now. Be with me now. Breath of heaven, hold me together. Be forever near me. Breath of heaven. light in this darkness. Pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven, do you wonder as you watch my face, if a wiser one should have had my place? But I offer all I am for the mercy of your plan. But help me be strong. Help me be. Help me. Breath of heaven, hold me together. Be forever near to me. Breath of heaven.
All right, and we're back. Annie Meadows is still here. She hasn't transported anywhere.
I have not disappeared.
So you mentioned a certain individual, like a bass player.
Yeah, the bass player in that rock band that I was on tour with is my husband, Peter Taboni.
Ah.
Peter Taboni, an Italian guy, and we ended up coming back from Hawaii, and he was just like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to go back to the Lord again," and was destined to bring me with him, which he did, and taking me to church, witnessing to me, and to eventually, I gave my heart to Jesus. And
right.
that was a big, and Peter took me out into the desert to burn all my, witchcraft paraphernalia. And you know what? The one thing I'd like to say is the night I gave my heart to Jesus in Calvary Chapel, Las Vegas, I felt like everything became white, for lack of a better word. It's like the darkness was gone and something new came in, and I loved it, David, and I never ever want to forget that feeling. I fell so in love with the Lord.
Oh man, you and now you're singing.
Yes.
You have a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Now tell us about this ministry that you're involved with.
When I got saved, it wasn't too long before the pastor found out that I was a singer, and so asked me to do special music, and that led to being one of the girl singers on the worship team, and that led to eventually becoming a worship leader, and then that led to eventually doors started flying open for me for an itinerant ministry, music ministry. It wasn't anything that I really wanted to do, David. I just really wanted to be a Christian, and I married Peter, soon after all of that happened, and was happy to be a housewife, but God opened doors for me, and now I go all over the world and sing in concerts, in churches, in prisons, in nursing homes, in schools. But the greatest part of ministry, I think, is on the streets. It's just to the people. Especially when I tour Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's one place where, I took some homeless guys to dinner. I just go on the streets and talk to people, because ministry is not just holding a microphone, having people clap and you autograph an album. It's more like grassroots, like Jesus, going to the people and just loving on them.
Wow, and you talked about traveling the world,
Yes.
right? And you've worked with some pretty top Christian artists.
I have. One of the greatest times I spent was with Jars of Clay, and it was in Hawaii. And we were at the Hawaiian Theater.
Yeah.
And we got to spend several days together because the producers wanted us to get to know each other. So we really got to see who they were, and they have great hearts for God. And then people like Sheila Walsh, who I opened for several times and became good friends with. So yeah, it was really an eye-opener to get to know people within the industry as well, because I was so new. I didn't know anything about being a gospel singer.
Yeah. And now you're going to be doing a concert soon?
Christmas concert is returning. David, I did it for 10 years at Lake Las Vegas. It was the annual Christmas concert here. It became very, very popular. And then in 2013, at the end of that concert, I retired the show in front of everybody. I said, this is the last one. To a lot of gasp in the audience, people were like, no, 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 our kids have grown up with this concert. And so 2014, the following Christmas, unfortunately, my mother tragically died on Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow.
How does that happen to somebody? You think that's only for a Hallmark movie. And so that was a difficult time. And then the following Christmas time, around this time last year, my husband had emergency brain surgery and nearly died.
Oh, wow.
That was a horrible time, David. And so I was never going to do another Christmas concert. I was a little bit disgruntled to the Christmas music, but God had other plans. And so when Mr. Dale Davison and the Walter Hoving Home people approached me and said, would you please return the Christmas concert as a benefit for the Walter Hoving Home on December 16th, Friday evening from 7 to 9 p.m., I could not resist that, because we are supporters of the Walter Hoving Home. So the Christmas concert returns to Trinity Life Center on East St. Louis Avenue, December 16th, Friday night. So I hope you'll be able to, maybe some of you guys can come out, and it's going to be a lovely night. I have a special, guest, guest. Some, Larry Ray Morbett from the Phantom is going to be there, Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, wow.
And Melody Carter, who's an incredible gospel artist, and Felicity Cunningham, one of my best friends. Pastor Randall Cunningham, the quarterback, superstar football player. She's married to him. She'll be dancing.
Oh, my
She's
goodness.
a professional dancer right from the New York stages. So it's going to be a tremendous concert.
Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, especially for the children.
Yeah.
Big deal for the children. Yeah, it's very friendly to the family. Yes.
So, Annie, if people wanted to get a hold of you or find out when your next show dates are, how could they find that out?
Well, they can go to the Faith Runner website, which is Faith Runner, just like it sounds, Faith, F-A-I-T-H, and Runner, all one word, .org, faithrunner.org. They can also visit Facebook, because I have a public figure page, and I also have a personal page. They can contact the Faith Runner Exodus Ministries office through basically the website. We used to have a phone, but a lot of people like to email me better. So people are welcome, and I answer emails. That's the thing that I hear the most. I've had people say to me over time, I never thought you'd ever answer me. I answer everybody, David. And I counsel a lot of people.
Awesome. That is amazing.
One thing I'd like to say is I love the Lord. Jesus has absolutely changed my life.
And God's blessed you.
He has blessed me very much. I have my trials like anybody else, but not without hope.
Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, right here, an amazing story, great testimony, beautiful house.
Thank you.
A beautiful voice to go with it.
Thank you so much.
And that is our show. Annie, thank you so much for being on it.
David, thank you.
And thank you for watching Faith in Vegas. That's our show. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thanks for watching Faith in Vegas, a presentation of KEEN TV 17. We hope you've enjoyed today's program, and we'd love to hear your comments and suggestions for the show. You can contact KEEN TV 17 at the address on the screen.